Book 1, Chapter 8, Togetherness. On Saturday I go back to the shelter to provide comfort to the little hearts that remain in cages. Where are all the people? I ask Melba. Why aren't all the pets adopted? Melba, with her touching way and quiet voice, says, not all people like to be around pets. Some people don't have time for pets, or perhaps a pet is not allowed in the place they live. It could be as simple as one having an allergy. I ponder and say, I wish they all could have homes like Sky Charles. I was lucky to have found him. Melba replies, he was lucky to find you. You were both connected by something much greater than yourself, in the right place at the right time. Charles is going to help today, but I wanted to arrive a little earlier than Charles to get most of the chores done. This way we can spend more time playing with the cats and walking the dogs in the pen out back. I am eager for Charles to come. I'm proud of the work that the shelter gives, proud that I am part of it. The shelter has many volunteers, and now Charles is going to be one. Charles likes animals. He likes cats better than dogs, and he has said that fish in a beautiful fish tank can be very relaxing. Charles doesn't have a fish tank, but he says he visits an office that has an extraordinary fish tank. While he is in the waiting room, he watches all the fish, wonders if they ever want to go further than the aquarium, or if they are happy in their surroundings. Perhaps we should just leave them in their own environment, in the oceans, in the waters, where they were born. Though, I suppose, many fish are born in fish tanks, and if you were born in a fish tank, there is a good chance that you won't want to go anywhere because you won't know what is beyond the glass. Charles says he feels that people are like fish that live in tanks, for how often do we not want to explore beyond what we know? How often do we want to take a direction but not know which way to go? He says his mom talks about leaving our community all the time, but has not found the courage or strong desire to see what's on the other side of the glass. In walks Charles, and again I notice his smile. He looks shy yet excited, and those are two emotions that are rare in Charles's world. Charles, I call, come in and meet everyone. Melba and Barley come over. Barley sniffs Charles's hand in the same way he sniffed my hand on my first day. Charles knows his name and says, you must be Barley. Barley gives Charles's hand a nudge as if to say, I am, and please pet me. Melba greets Charles with her usual handshake and welcomes him to the shelter. She asks about his paperwork, which he has folded with great precision, and he removes it from his front pocket. Thank you, Charles, Melba says with almost a song in her voice. Finn, I will let you show Charles around, and since you did most of the work already, please take your time to enjoy playing with the animals. Charles wants to see the cats first. Then he notices the one rabbit in the cage in the hallway. A rabbit, he says. I've never seen a rabbit up close before. He kneels in front of the cage, and I watch as the rabbit moves his nose in a quick manner to sniff Charles. Charles says, it's like all the animals want to sniff me. I say with a chuckle, that's how they communicate. They can feel and sense what you are about just by their nose. Charles laughs at the rabbit, who now has his nose pushed between the bars of the cage. He is able to pet the end of his nose through the space between the bars. Come and meet all the cats and kittens, I declare. They are waiting to meet you. Charles gets up and looks happy to be at the shelter. We walk into the room with all the cats lined up and stacked up in cages. Charles is surprised at how many cats there are. Why are there so many? He asks in a bewildered voice. From what I see, cats can have many kittens, and if they are not spayed or neutered, they reproduce. Then the people can't keep all these cats, so they bring them here. Charles says, wouldn't it be nice if they could all have a home? One cat gets Charles's attention. The cat walks from the back of the cage to the front at the door and puts his paw out from in between the bars. Charles immediately puts his fingers in the cage and laughs as the cat licks the tips of his fingers. He is friendly, I say. I've never seen that cat do that before. Charles, with a grin, says, maybe it's because I wasn't here before. We both smile at the bonding of two. What's his name? Charles asks. It's usually written on the information sheet that is posted on the outside of the cage. Charles reads the note out loud. Male, 3 years old, at shelter since March 17th. That's a while now, I say. Charles continues. Declawed, owner moved away. Name, Sam. Well, Sam, Charles pipes up, it is very nice to meet you. I'm Charles, and I am here to keep you company. Sam starts walking along the inside of the cage, rubbing his body against Charles's hand from the other side of the bars. Charles gets a big kick out of Sam, and Sam obviously likes Charles. What do the other information sheets say? I ask. Charles looks at the sides of each cage to see how long each had been there and their name. One little kitten is crying. His fellow kittens are all sleeping in a pile as kittens do. Why are you crying? I hear Charles ask. What is your name? Charles studies the sheets and finds the tabby kitten is named Molly. Molly. You look like a Molly. That's a nice name for a pretty little cat like you. Charles spends a lot of time with the cats until finally I say, Charles, let's go meet all the dogs. Charles agrees, and we go into the room down the hallway that holds many barking dogs. As we open the door, the sound of the barking increases in volume. So many dogs all wanting attention at the same time. I can see Charles is overwhelmed, but he is also calm, warming up to the idea of the dogs. He says he really likes them, but is a bit nervous around the larger dogs. I say, it's usually the larger dogs that are most passive. It's the tiny dogs that have to show their voice to make up for their size. Charles smiles and says, I know a few people like that. We both laugh and Charles walks along, reading to me the details of each dog. He says, look at this dog. This dog is 14 years old. I wonder what happened to his home. He studies the dog for a long while, as if he is having a silent conversation with him. I say to him, sometimes I think I hear their heart speak to me. Charles replies, this heart is not wanting to be here. This dog is very sad to be in a cage. Charles asks if he can enter the cage and volunteer to take the dog for a walk around. I tell him it's fine, but he has to use a leash. Charles retrieves the leash and the dog slowly gets up from his place in the corner of the cage. I can hear Charles speaking to him in a gentle voice. What happened to you that you are here? Where is your family? I can see that Charles is bonding with the older dog. It's like the way I felt when I first set my eyes on Sky Charles. Charles looks at the information sheet and says, this dog doesn't have a name. The space is blank. I go over to the information sheet and yes, it is blank. I say, Sky didn't have a name, but I was able to give him one. Perhaps you can name this dog. Charles studies the dog some more. He attaches the leash to his collar and asks that he come with him outside. The large dog is willing to go, but he doesn't look as if he has much life in him. It's like something is missing. I think it's called heartache. While Charles is outside, I am able to take a few dogs out to play, to just be. All the while, Charles simply stays with the large dog. Charles, in a soft manner, asks me, do you think you could hear his heart speak now? I look at the saddened dog and say, I'll try. I place my hand on the dog's chest and I listen intently. Nothing. I don't hear anything. I close my eyes. I take a deep breath, and suddenly a gentle whisper I can hear. Charles stands watching, waiting for the miracle, and we are all silent, all except for the heart that is talking.